Hello, everyone. I'm really excited to be at the beginning of our reading program through the book of John. This is something that the guys in my small group chose to do, so I've been putting this together for them, but anybody's welcome to join along with us. Since we're at the beginning, I thought I'd make a few remarks from a big picture perspective. One of the things we've noted in our small group is that right now you are becoming the person that you will be. And so we want to be deliberate about shaping how we're going to be, what we're going to become. And recently we were on a trip and the speaker challenged us with this notion, among others, that what gets your attention, it gets your affection. So some of the guys really stepped up to the plate and said, I want to do more with reading the Bible. Well, that's a great goal, but we need more than a goal, we need a strategy. So our strategy is following a bunch of questions. So when? We need to have a time that we're going to read our Bible. Now, this doesn't have to be the same time every day, right? My friend Wes, he doesn't like doing it the same time every day because then it feels like work. Other people are going to really resonate with having a same time every day sort of thing. But one way or another, schedule it, plan on it, and then give yourself some kind of reminder. Could be something on your phone, could be an event that triggers it, like, maybe lunch. So either before or after you feed your body, feed your soul. Where? You need an undistracted place where you're not going to be constantly bothered or interrupted by things. You need a who. Now, you don't have to do this with other people, but you need accountability partners that you can check in with and that can check in with you. Why? Well, we want to get to know God better and grow in faith, and there's a whole bunch of other reasons you can add personally for why you would want to do a program like this. We need a what? We need an actual reading plan. So our first week, we're going to read through the first 3 chapters of the book of John. And then how? Okay, it ends with a W instead of starts with a W. But anyway, we need to read. We need to read with focus. We need to reflect. We can do that by answering a few questions and then asking questions and talking with our accountability partner about them. And to do that, of course, we have to connect with our accountability partner. So our schedule this week is going to have us moving through 3 different chapters from the book of John. And for each day, we have just a few questions. So we're starting with John 1 through 18, which is the prologue. John's introducing several themes that are going to keep coming up in the book over and over again. So we want to just pay attention to what those themes are. And so the way we're going to do that is we're going to look for repeated words. And now not the and, of course, but key words that are important. And then ask ourselves, so how do those words direct us to certain topics? Because it's not just, can we find a word that shows up a whole bunch of times, but what's being said about that topic? And then what are some basic ideas that are associated with it? So I'll actually model that a little bit for you. And so why don't we go over to Bible.org, and I've got John 1 pulled up. This is edition 2 of the Net Bible. If you came in just Bible.org, there would be a little menu here, and you would see Net Bible in this spot rather than Bible.org. You would click on it. It would come up in Matthew 1, and then you can choose here how to get there. You'll notice that there's gobs and gobs of notes. Not going to dig into all those now, but they can be pretty helpful. But quick orientation, SN is a study note. TN is a translator's note. And I don't see any on this page, but if you had TC, that would be a text critical note. That means it's a comment on what the underlying text should be read or how it should be read. And these notes here, Constable's notes, these are from Tom Constable, one of the professors, longtime professor at Dallas Theological Seminary. And there's a place here that you can make your own notes. I don't have any notes in here on the book of John as yet. All right, let's take a look at John 1, starting at verse 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was fully God. The Word was with God in the beginning. All things were created by him, and apart from him not one thing was created that has been created. In him was life, and the life was the light of mankind. And the light shines on in the darkness, but the darkness has not mastered it. A man came, sent from God, whose name was John. He came as a witness to testify about the light, so that everyone might believe through him. He himself was not that light, but he came to testify about the light. The true light, who gives light to everyone, was coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world was created by him, but the world did not recognize him. He came to what was his own, but his own people did not receive him. But to all who have received him, those who believe in his name, he has given the right to become God's children. Children not born by human parents or by human desire or a husband's decision, but by God. Now the Word became flesh and took up residence among us. We saw his glory, the glory of the one and only, full of grace and truth, who came from the Father. John testified about him and shouted out, "This is the one about whom I said, 'He who comes after me is greater than I am, because he existed before me.' For we have all received from his fullness one gracious gift after another. For the law was given through Moses, but grace and truth came about through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God, the one and only, himself God, who is in closest fellowship with the Father, has made God known." Okay, so our questions were to look for keywords and to note the themes, and so I'm going to just do one example of that. So here I've taken the text, and you see that I've highlighted a bunch of words, and they are life, light, and darkness. So they show up several times. So that's just our first step, is seeing that, what are these ideas that show up quite a few times. Now, maybe you say to yourself, well, I see how light and darkness relate because they're opposites, but why is life in there? Well, it's because we're not just looking for keywords, we're looking for what's said. So in him was life, and the life was the light of mankind. So the life and the light are equated there. So that's why I'm including life in with light and darkness. All right, so once we've just listed the keywords, well, we've got life and light and darkness and a whole bunch of other ones that are in this passage. Then we start trying to group them together into topics. So it's not just enough to say, I see the word light a lot and I see the word darkness a lot. What can we say about the relationship between light and darkness? And I don't think it takes a whole lot of work for us to realize that they're in opposition to each other. There's some sort of competition or conflict between light and darkness, and something is trying to be remedied. So if we are back here looking at our questions, we would have included light, darkness, and life somewhere in here. And we would then group those together because we would have had other things listed up here. And just what are some basic ideas? We would say that light and darkness are in conflict, and light is associated with life. And so it's not going to surprise us if, as we go through John, we maybe see death being associated with darkness, or as the opposite. Now, we might also have another question, one that I didn't put on the little list that we have, is like, how is it that life is light? Right? It doesn't say that the light is life, or it doesn't we have a light and it's going to show us the way to get to life. The life itself is the light. So that might be something you talk about with your accountability partner, and something to ponder and reflect on. How is it that life can be light? Because, light and darkness, probably pretty obvious. One helps us see, one leads us through the other. So I just toss a couple ideas out for you to be pondering. The Bible also compares our spiritual condition prior to knowing Jesus as death, right? That's in Ephesians. It says you were dead in your trespasses and sins. Now it's a word play. The quality of our existence was death. So just kind of borrowing that idea as an opposite to life. So come back to John, and we are picturing that Jesus shows up, and here we are all in a broken world, broken relationships, broken hearts, and he shows up healthy and alive and doing life the way it ought to. And isn't that very attractive? In some sense, that is a light that is calling us to him and calling us to the Father. And then you can do more with that. You can talk about the things that you in particular see in Jesus or in his people that show you what life really is, or when you see that life, and how that is a light that pulls you to Jesus or pulls you to the Father. It helps you see your spiritual condition more clearly, or see the world more clearly in order to minister to it, and that sort of thing. So come up with those kind of questions, talk about them with your accountability partner. Maybe you're not checking in with your accountability partner every day, but a couple times of the week, check in just to say, yeah, I did read. No, that day I forgot, so I doubled up the next day. These are some ideas that I was kicking around. Talk about them, and we think that will enhance your reading and help keep you more on track. All right. I hope you have a great time. Take care.